As
All right,
usual.
recording is working. We are ready.
We is back, laddies. Alright.
All right. So,
Let me just
shall we
share
do
this.
like a little quick introduction of ourselves, like who we are, where we live, our addresses, that kind of stuff?
I believe that is the whole point. We want to get located by literally everyone on the internet. Now the only question is who wants to start with their introduction of themselves.
Freed, since you're in the middle of the Discord, you can go.
Discord.
An intro.
Yes.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
a young lad living. I keep doing this, but I have no hair in the back, so it gets a little weird.
um, I have some guiding
Just living.
questions if you want me to ask you them, but feel
Yo,
free to.
calm down, bro. Calm down.
I,
Give
I,
me,
I'm
give me
sorry.
my space, bro. Just you living in the Netherlands, hit me up if you pass by. If you wanna chill, I make music. You can check it out on all streaming platforms. And I'm working, doing things.
What's your artist name, my friend?
I'm a busy man. Just my name, Fareed Jafarli. Search me up on Spotify if you use that. iTunes, Amazon, Tidal, Deezer, all that fucking shit.
Yeah, title, dude. That's where it's at.
Yeah, bro. Jay Z.
And
Nah,
Marcus,
nah,
you.
I'm not
Let's go.
fancy.
Yeah. So my name is Marcus. My last name will just be Marcus, I guess. Marcus. Uh, I'm half Swedish, half American, living in the north of Sweden, which is the greatest.
It's pretty far
At the
north, I
moment,
hear.
we're basically in the Arctic Circle. But yeah, I'm studying marketing at the moment. I'm doing my marketing masters. Got two
Mm.
years left of this shit, and then I'll be able to sell stuff to kids. So yeah, that's basically me at this point.
Selling stuff to kids, that's a very great note to end on.
Right?
I'm, yes, I
Mr.
myself,
Sören.
Sören Olsenfüger, good luck pronouncing that if you're not German yourself. Currently living in Germany in a very small town that is not worth mentioning, actually, because it's very, very boring here. So instead of actually concentrating on my studies, I have decided to create a podcast with my fellow co hosts, and we want to see how successful we can be. We want to talk about spicy subjects and confront, I would say,
Spicy.
a lot of.
Nah, bro. I don't want to confront shit, man.
Well, okay, it's
I'm
still up for
chilling,
debate.
bro.
I'm just kidding. We want to talk
we
about
can
some
we can
stuff.
talk about spicy stuff, but not edgy stuff. We
We'll
draw the line at
convert.
edgy.
Yes.
We'll
What
have
that,
spicy conversations.
whatever that means, it's up to the viewers to decide. And yeah, that's basically it.
So yeah,
Nice.
we also love input from the audience. So if you have any questions, if you want us to rip on you and roast you, just let us know. That would be great.
Yeah, Marcus decided 2 days ago that we should do this live, so we're very much prepared for that.
We're very prepared. As you guys know, I stream every day for 5 minutes at a time. So I'm pretty well versed in streaming at this point.
Yeah. So Zern
Wait,
has guiding questions. Zern has guiding questions. Zern, hit us up with them guides.
Okay, well, the first one is well, we did an introduction of ourselves, but we also kind of want to introduce who we
Fuck,
are.
bro, roast Kieran. What the fuck?
yeah, it's Kenny, dude. It's Kenny.
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah.
Nutty Geezer 420. What's good, homie? What's good?
Nutty Geezer, I love your name, bro. That's a
It's like
fucking
it's like
name.
Dusky Ballsack.
Oh
Nutty
man,
Geezer.
it's gonna be
Okay,
really difficult when we keep getting like our friends on this and they keep distracting us. Shame.
just
Yeah,
I just want to say something for those of you who are listening on the audio recording. We're just doing this on Twitch at the moment, so we have like a chat with people talking and stuff. So when people say something funny, we'll make sure to kind of bring it into the podcast, so you guys aren't lost if you're
yeah,
just listening to the audio.
Look
yeah.
out.
Hey, what's up, Pranav? How you doing, man? It's been a while. It's been a
Hey,
while.
my boy, Nutty Geezer, for now.
Oh man, I guess this
My
dude
CS
spread around
mouth
a
is
little more than I
dusty
expected.
balls.
That's cool.
Yo, 18 viewers, bro. What I tell you? Okay, Zern, how about you?
18 viewers and coming up. Let's go, people.
All right, so the first thing I want to introduce is the term TCK, and I know a lot of you know this or remember it from high school, our friends at least, and I know us three have heard it from high school. TCK, third culture kid. What does it mean?
Um, okay, so since Zern stopped talking, a third culture kid is someone who hasn't grown up in their mom's culture, in their father's culture, but in a different culture. So that represents, us three quite well. I
Yeah,
never lived in the States. I lived in Sweden like when I was in fucking kindergarten, and then all around Asia.
yeah. Same goes for me. Basically, I am German, but I've only lived in Germany for, okay, it's now 8 years, but that's still not very much. Um, that's like not even half of my life, so.
Yeah.
Damn, you old.
So, yeah. So Zern has some guiding questions.
Yeah, we're working through these guiding questions. Um,
Oh, this is the guiding question?
no, well, this is the start of it because I wanted to
Yeah,
introduce the term TCK because that's kind of what we're going to use
Okay,
throughout our
okay.
podcast. This aspect of we grew up in a
Gotcha.
frickin' place that's not where we're from. Like, your parents are not from where we grew up, and that's how it's changed the way we see the world.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure.
So my first question to
I'm sure
everyone
there's
here.
some TCKs out there and our viewers. All the TCKs, hit us up.
shout out.
Shout out
Shout out to
TCK
the TCK
Yo, NIST
crew.
2016, you know what it do?
Yeah.
That's kind of something that brings us together, but we don't want that to be the focus of the podcast, though.
Nah.
So we have, of course, there's so many things to talk about. So current issues, uh, I don't know,
We can eat, we
things
also
that
want to
interest.
I feel like social media trends and stuff. There's a lot of things that one
Okay,
can talk about. However, that's something we're going to come to later.
we've got a question in chat actually from Ulla0720. How did you meet? Well, we were in Thailand studying at the NIST International School of Thailand, or actually New International School of Thailand, sorry. I met Farid, what was it, year 8, year 9?
Which is like
Year nine.
grade 8, always
Grade 8 or
one year
something like
down.
that. Yeah, so I've known Farid for a brick, a shit long time. Zern, I don't even know when I met you, because like we met, but we weren't friends for a while.
Do you want, I can give a very comedic way of expressing it. We became friends because our girlfriends were best friends at the time.
Yeah, so we legit just hung out with our girlfriends
And
together.
Freed was like always in there as well.
Yeah,
No,
we'd go take smoke breaks
I was
during school.
Hell
We'd run
yeah,
into
fucking
teachers.
6 people bad crews. We were the people who would go outside, smoke directly out of the view of the teachers, and then walk back and then pretend like nobody could smell that we stank like cigarettes the whole school day.
not me, man. I don't know what the fuck these guys are talking about. I wasn't participating in any of that.
Freed was a good boy. He was in the music lab all day, all night,
Yeah,
just
cooking
working
up.
on his triangle music, his xylophone music.
Right, right.
Xylophone.
Marcus, I won't even say it, man. I won't even say it.
And these two guys have dirt on each other.
I just ripped on these guys for having girlfriends all day.
But let's not
I don't
forget
want it.
you had a girlfriend too. What the fuck?
It's lagging a bit now.
Yeah, your
That's just you.
videos. Alright, you back ish. Are you downloading stuff right now?
No, man. Let me quit some things.
Fucking
Yo, what's good, Sujan? How you doing, brother?
what a
Sujan
surprise.
says anus. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Do you have any like interesting stuff to say, Sujan?
Downloading porn. Okay, discussion of downloading porn. Who even does that anymore? Downloads porn.
Right? Everything's up in
Right?
the
Why do you
cloud.
need? Why do you need to do
It's like
that,
getting your
man? Do you
hands
not have
dirty.
Wi-Fi at home, bro?
No, I'll give an
Apparently
argument
you don't.
for downloading porn. Okay, listen, listen. If there's like this one niche video that's like 480p, you know it's gonna get removed at some point. It's like, yo, let me just save this real quick. That's the only argument I can have. But I don't download porn. I'm actually, I don't watch porn. I'm actually a virgin still, so I like to keep it clean, waiting for the right time.
Marcus even wears a chastity belt.
Yeah, my parents have the key to that.
Show it to us, bro. Show us your belt.
Oh boy, this is gonna get us banned real quick.
No,
What's the
it
world
has
record for being banned off Twitch? I don't remember.
like 6 seconds. This guy said the N word. He got banned instantly.
Fucking great. All
Well,
right.
one of our viewers got his hands dirty yesterday. Good to know that he can't clean his butthole
It's Kenny.
properly.
Doesn't surprise anyone.
I got
I
yeah,
know,
dude.
I know.
Have you seen Kenny's snaps, bro? They're wild.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Sorry?
not get into
Chat.
stuff that no one understands.
Exactly. That's a trap.
Yeah.
My first question to us is, where are we from, or where would you say that you're from?
Zerns, why don't you start us off?
Well, I would say that I identify mostly as German, but I don't come from anywhere specifically. You have like this identity, and that's basically all that I rely on to get by in life. Why say my home is wherever I define it to be? So at the moment, this fucking piece of shit apartment is my home. For now.
Yeah. What about you, Marcus?
Uh, I don't know. It's for me, like okay. Let's if I meet an American person, I'll just say like, yeah, I'm Swedish. If I meet a Swedish person, I'll say, yeah, I'm half Swedish, half American. And then if I meet like any other person, I'll just like, yeah, I'm Swedish. So it really depends who I talk to.
Alright,
Uh,
right.
you know, if I'm talking to like a Swedish person, I'm like, yeah, I'm Swedish. Then like, oh, you don't speak Swedish, and then it gets into this whole fucking conversation. So I like to just avoid that.
Yeah, that's true. It's the worst when like a person like I live in Germany. When a German person ask me where I'm from, it's always they expect an answer of what city are you from, and it's always a longer explanation when you say not really any city. It's
Right, for sure.
What about you, Farid? What would you say?
Well, I always say I'm from Azerbaijan.
I
I
guess they do
am.
have it
My
easiest, right?
passport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of easy for me. But then, um, yeah, that's not really a big issue for me. It's just when um I get into this trap of kind of thinking that people are gonna assume everything about me based on my nationality, you know?
Oh,
And
that's true.
I never want that to be the case. So I always wish that I could somehow telepathically just unload my like like a 10-second version of my background like easy. But like no one was really interested, you know, and who gives a fuck? Like most people don't give a fuck.
That's
And that's
true.
cool. And that's cool.
It
Like
just sucks when
it's
you have like this 10-minute backstory and you know people are like meh interested into it in it,
yeah.
and that's still like the only way to describe your life.
Yeah. I mean,
But
obviously it's a big part of our lives for us. It means a lot. But I've also come to understand that I shouldn't make it such a big part of my life, you know?
That's true. You get to choose how much that kind of identity
Yeah.
is your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yo, we've got a good comment from one of our viewers. He says, "Isn't identity becoming more relevant since we struggle with associating ourselves with it?"
Mm,
I think it depends who you talk to, really. Like for me, I definitely agree with that. Like I tend not to think about like where I'm from as like my identity because
I assume he
like
means
if I
cultural identity. Yeah.
yeah like if I hang out with Americans, I don't feel like an American. It's the same with like Swedish people. So I think it's like I'm just like I'm just from the places I've been, but I'm not from one specific place, you know. Like the
Right.
places I've lived in, it's shaped me, who I am, how I see the world, but I don't use it like I don't say
But
like yeah, I'm Thai because I've lived there for six
Right.
years, you know what I mean?
but also what do you mean by the we? Like who is we? Who is
He's
struggling to
referring.
associate
He's
themselves
referring
with
to us TCKs.
identity? Okay. Yeah. I think it's definitely possible. but at the end of the day, everyone like wants to fit into some kind of box, you know? Like it's just a human, like you have the human archetypes
Yeah, of
in
course.
literature and shit.
Pretty sure
Like
that's
there's
why
not,
the term TCK was even created.
just to
right,
make people like us feel a little better about the
yeah,
like no feeling of belonging.
Yeah.
right. But what happens to TCKs? Like once they get older, you know, do they are they still kind of lost in where the fuck they're from or where they which culture they can associate with? Or as they get older, do they just slip into, you know, the old habits?
I think it gets easier when you're older. Like at least for me, I've just started caring less about this kind of thing.
Yeah, you kind of just realize who
Right.
you are as a person, and you don't you define your own identity more than anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out to Lucas for the question.
Yeah, Lukaku, hit us up, man.
Now,
Keep
that was
coming.
Lukaku's question.
Don't even SO to me, you ungrateful sock.
That's
I
a good
think,
insult. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm gonna start using that. You ungrateful suck.
Lukaku, I miss you, brother. Wish I could come, but I'm gonna be busy, man. I'm sorry.
I have a next question, which is basically what impact did our own families have on our identity? Because yes, you grow up in one country and that has an impact on your identity, but then you also have your family, which is like I would say 80% of your impact.
Yeah,
For me
I think.
personally, since I'm in like a not really blended, but like my dad's from a German, he's German, right? And therefore he's got a very much a German cultural attitude towards most things. Whereas my mom, she's originally from South America, adopted and became a Canadian citizen,
All right.
and therefore she has a way more, I guess, blended attitude towards things. So my dad's very much a proper German. You know, he manages his money. He likes to cook and he makes very much German food. And then my mom comes along. And when she wants to cook, for example, it's whatever she wants. You know, she's got like, oh, I want to make something exotic today, so she makes like this really crazy fried rice or whatever. But my dad does like schnitzels and spaghetti bolognese, and he also likes to drink and all that good stuff. I feel like I've been affected by very much the German identity through my dad, but also appreciating a little bit more. I'm a little bit more appreciative of other cultures through my mother because she does not represent any culture at all herself. It's what she says as
Right.
well. It's like for her, she doesn't consider herself really a citizen of any specific country, but a citizen of the world because she's been everywhere, I guess.
Yeah. I think we all have a culture though to some extent.
Definitely.
Like it's impossible to not have some kind of upbringing. We all have things we learned from adults when we were kids that
But
we can't get rid
it's
of.
more like an amalgamation of different cultures. I think like for me living in all the places I've lived, it's kind of like you kind of like cherry pick the ones that you like.
Right.
You know, you see the
Right.
values or you see similar values in different cultures and like the similar values are the ones that sticks with you because you see them so
But
often.
do you think that those values are more from the places you lived in or more okay, let's say it this way. Do you think that those values override the values that you learned at home or at school? Like is it about the country or the places you spent so much time in, you know, which wasn't actually the country. It was a bubble like within those countries.
It's true that it's a bubble, but I believe that the more, I think the older you are, the more capable you are of like cherry picking stuff, of realizing, for example, uh, you may be taught some specific values in a Western home, but then you live in Asia and you realize that it's way more about um, social experiences and like when you big social groups and doing things in like big groups together, whereas Western society is a little bit more you just concentrate on yourself and everyone will get by nice and easy, you know? And you can
Right.
be like, I like that. Obviously, as a kid, you don't really understand the differences, but the older you get, the more capable, like I just said, you are of realizing what you want to be, I guess, affected by.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, like if I was raised like purely in the US or purely in Sweden, I think I would be a completely different person to what I am now. I think the thing is though, the like international schools I've been to, they're mostly American. So
Right.
in that way, I've got kind of my American culture, but only through that way, And it's more like international American culture and not like the culture of Texas or the culture of New Jersey or whatever like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But America is also so diverse, right? I'm sure there's kids like kids who go to private schools are so different from the kids who go to public schools in some like poor area, And there's such a huge range in like I'm just playing devil's advocate, okay?
Yeah.
Like why do we think that international schools have this extraordinary
Well, it's
thing
not
they give?
extraordinary. I would just say it's different.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because like
I
let's look at the teachers we've had, like just at NIST alone, right? We had like some
right,
British teachers, we had American teachers, like teachers from Australia,
right.
fucking some Thai teachers, So like they
So
each have their own culture, and then it's kind of not put upon us, but we interact with them, especially over
right.
time. Like you kind of, I don't know, it just has an effect on who you are,
Yeah,
as
Mhm.
opposed to like if you were in just a normal like public school in the States. You know what I mean?
of course, of course. I agree 100%. I do think it's one of the better things to of living abroad if you can go to those schools.
Definitely, man. If I would have the choice, I would also put, I guess, future children of mine through a similar experience. Not maybe not quite the same experience as myself, but that's a slightly different topic.
Mm. Yo,
Yeah.
shout outs to Ahoa man, my man Westlake.
Westlake is a great name.
Sorry, yeah.
But
Um,
Sorry,
to
Marcus.
add on to what you just said, Zern, like, sure, living in Thailand, growing up in Thailand was fun as fuck. But like knowing what we got up to, like I would never raise a kid in Thailand like the way we were raised.
Honestly, I feel like raising a kid in Thailand after going through what after living through what we've lived through, um, I feel like you have a little bit more control because like, no matter what your kid's gonna say, they'll be lying to you.
I don't know, yo. I don't really agree with that. Like, kids around the world have way crazier childhoods that are affected by
That's true.
violence, that are affected by really fucked up things. And like, we didn't have most of that. So, like, saying that, like, oh, the things we went through or some shit, like, I think it was pretty sheltered, like, the life we
Well,
lived.
I'm not saying we went through like violent shit, but I'm saying the things that we got up to, would surprise most people, I'd say.
Because most people wouldn't think that 15-year-olds have the kind of free reign that they do in Bangkok. You can literally get away with anything already at 15 years old, as long as you have enough cash, of
Yeah.
course.
But, yo, I've got a question from my boy Joss. He says, in his opinion, the odds that he'll get a kid that's TCK is pretty high. So, what kind of advice can we give him to raise a kid in this kind of TCK environment?
That's a really good question, man.
That is a good question, and my answer to that is basically, try to immerse your kid in like the culture of yourself and the culture of your wife or your husband or whatever,
I
and
mean,
try to give them a place to feel where they belong, but also don't like try to force it on them. Don't say like, "Oh, you're French, you have to do it the French way." You know what I mean? Just like expose them to the cultures that their parents are from, and then kind of just let it go from there, I guess.
I feel like in schools you will always be exposed to the local culture. There's no way around it, and it's a good thing because it gives you a little bit of appreciation for the place you are in. More so the older you get, yeah. And at home is always a great place to just be immersed by your own home culture, or at least your parents' culture. Doesn't matter how you define it; it's the same thing. And in the end, it'll result in a person that is very well versed in, let's say, two, three, or even more cultures, knows like three, four languages possibly, and those people are already pretty well set for life when it comes to opportunities. They can chase many dreams that most people wouldn't be able to. You get a lot of opportunities when you grow up abroad.
I think though it's worth saying that we shouldn't confuse TCK and like the opportunities you get from that. Like we shouldn't confuse that with like like being born into an affluent family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like if you are a TCK kid, chances are your parents have money to like move around and do things, and that of course had an effect on us. Uh, but like we shouldn't confuse the effects of both of these factors. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What about you, Freed? What's your advice to my boy Joss?
I kind of like don't get the question too well. Like, what the effect of us being TCKs on the connecting world, where
No, that's not the
people's
question we're referring to.
less.
You're looking at the
Oh, which
latest
one?
chat question, right? No, Marcus was talking about um, what advice could we give someone who most likely will have a child that will be TCK in the future?
I don't know, man. I never had a kid. I don't fucking know.
I mean, that's the part that's probably pretty hard to imagine for us.
Actually, yeah, that's true. Tip number one: don't have kids.
That's just Marcus's point of view. Y'all are free to ignore him. Do we want to try to
Yeah, I
answer
think
this question though? Well,
I think shit just happens. Like people don't really plan these kinds of lives, you know. Like I think most of the time it's out of necessity, like earning cash and like career, you know, you don't want to leave your job, you like the place you work at and you like traveling.
hmm
So your parents kind of put this like you get this life and it's either better than the life you could have had in your home country, you know, or it's worse. And in my case, it was much better. Like I liked living abroad rather than growing up in Azerbaijan.
I feel
That
like
was
that's
really
also.
positive for me.
I feel
So it depends. Like, is your child gonna be more stable and have a better life in your home country where you have all these, you know, you have family and all these things, safe environment, as Marcus would say. The shit like Bangkok is can be pretty like wild, but I don't think that was a problem. Like people are gonna find ways to be wild anyway. You know, they're
hmm
gonna go to like fucking crazed up sex orgies and shit. Doesn't matter like where they're growing up. So that's my advice.
That's good. I like that. But shall we try tackle this other question?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
It's
this is a
interesting.
little retarded question.
Okay, what kind of effect do you
Don't
guys
bash
think
viewers, my friend. What?
okay, what kind of effect do you guys think that being TCK as yourself has on this ever more connecting world where perhaps experiences are less and less based on one's background and more to do with people's personal interests and what they're doing with their lives?
So our experience, we have to answer this question. Um,
But I mean, background has a huge effect on people's personal interests and what they end up doing in their life. So I think you can't really separate those two.
trying to understand the question in the way that it's meant to be understood.
Yo, Nomadic14, if you want to clarify your question a bit, now would be the time.
Oh, it's Alexa. Is it Alexa?
Who the fuck is Alexa?
I think I know what you mean.
I don't know. I hope so.
Ah, it's
Who's the Great
Christopher.
Dane?
That's
Hello, Great
Christopher.
Dane.
Oh, fucking Danish people, dude.
Danish bashing is allowed on the stream.
Yes. How are you doing, Chris? Do you have any questions for us? Do you have any
Weird.
like deep burning questions that you feel?
Will you be living in one of your parents' cultures in the future, or do you feel more drawn to go back to living in a third culture? Great
Definitely the
question,
latter.
That's a good question.
I,
Thank you, Ole, for that.
I'm personally looking to work in the foreign ministry for Germany, so I am definitely gonna go back abroad because Germany's cool and all, but like I like making money and I like seeing the world, and that's like a perfect way to conjoin those two things.
Dude,
No.
who the fuck doesn't like making money? What the fuck?
Dude.
No, but that's a good question. For me, like, I will I will never set foot in the States. I have no plans on visiting, no plans on living. So it's either Sweden or a third culture. I don't know. At this point in time, I like the idea of Sweden, especially since like now's the time when I'm gonna get into like the workforce and stuff like that. So like I believe Sweden's like the perfect place to start work and to like gain the experience. And then when I do, I don't know, like I might want to go back to Asia, but I kind of want to stay in Europe. I feel like it's such a nice place. Like there's so many great countries, so many opportunities here. So I don't know. It all depends like what my options are, what kind of jobs I could get in different countries. So we'll see.
Yeah. I probably want to be third culture, not be third culture, but live abroad. I just like it that way. I like moving around. I'm too used to it. It's
Yo,
fun.
shout out King Vidal, my little boy, my little brother. How you doing?
Hey, my man
Shout out.
Kai.
It's funny though how like for the vast majority of the world they can't imagine leaving their like home state or moving too far from like their family wherever it's located, and for us it's the complete opposite where we realize the easiest thing for us to do is fucking keep moving around. Like 5 years one city, that's more than enough time.
But wouldn't you say you're kind of sick of moving around?
I'm not really. I'm already looking forward to my move to Berlin.
Like, sure, that makes sense. Like, we're in tiny cities. We're not like it's not conducive for us. But like let's say you go to Berlin and you like it there. Like, are you gonna be looking for an out after 5 years?
um, I think so. If I get this position, I'll do my dues and then I'll be out of there in 3 years actually. So I'm always thinking in like maximum 3, 4 years ahead. I don't think I'm ever gonna settle down, or at least not for a while. But that's just me
Don't worry.
personally.
There's so many bitches that want you, Zern. Don't settle down.
Okay, so we've got another question from Ulle0720. His question is: would you raise a family in a third culture? Uh,
I have family in the third culture.
it all depends, dude. Like where the girl is from, like what her thoughts are, like what
And the
country
guy,
she's from as well. Well, yeah,
girl,
of
and
course. Oh, true, true, true. We accept all sexualities here,
yes, sir.
but it depends.
There's a few
Like,
select countries where I'll be like, nope. But that's more
yeah,
because of
like
the political situations and shit, you know? Like
yeah,
nothing to
like
do
some
with the
countries
people.
are just better to raise a family in than others, and I think that's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Don't go to Saudi Arabia. That's my first advice there.
There's a
To all our Saudi Arabian viewers, get your shit together, guys.
Oh, I like this question. Okay, Nomadic 14 says, "Hey, fuck that dumb question. What do you guys think about the world becoming more and more connected through social media, through the social media era, and will does this turn into?" Okay, we're just gonna scrub over that. What do you guys think about social media and the
Oh,
interconnectedness?
what will this turn into? He said.
Okay,
What?
okay, okay.
Phew. Um,
Okay, I'll tackle this one. I don't know. I think social media is being it's kind of a monopolized thing, you know. So that's what in my mind makes it kind of dangerous for the generations to come.
yeah.
And I think there should be more control over these things. Fucking Zuckerberg, bro.
No, I agree. Like, let's say if you want to say something on a platform, the owners of that platform basically have all the say in whether or not you're allowed to say it or not.
Yeah, we seen that come into surface recently with like
Okay,
Twitter,
but
Facebook and shit. Yeah.
but
Especially with this like Hong Kong protest. Like, I don't know if you viewers have heard, but there was this one guy who won a Hearthstone tournament, and he mentioned the Hong Kong protests, and Blizzard ended up banning this guy from future competitions, and they're withholding his prize money simply because he mentioned the Hong Kong protests.
He's even
Yeah.
banned the two interviewers
Yeah. No,
that
yeah,
had
yeah, they
nothing
fired
to
them.
do with the fucking guy at all. They were just there
So
interviewing him, and then
so you're saying like they're private companies, right? They can do whatever the fuck they want, basically.
technically yes.
But I don't think that's cool, you know, because then
Of
you're
course
giving
not.
so much power to the private companies, man.
That is
Yeah,
true.
Which is what's
especially.
which is
Go
what's
ahead.
happened in America, you know,
Yeah.
which is not cool in my opinion.
And like normally, like
Like,
sure, they're a private company, they should be allowed to do what they want. But like these private companies have a monopoly on social media, basically. Like you only have
yeah,
Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, Twitter, like YouTube. I can't think of anything else that a shit ton of people use. So it's basically
right,
the people who are in control of these platforms get a say on what gets put out to the world.
right. I
You
mean,
know?
like, if you imagine you're a content creator and you're banned off of YouTube, what the hell are you gonna do, man?
What do you
Yeah,
mean?
you're like your whole lively. I mean,
Yeah,
they don't pay as much, dude.
I mean, just to get your shit out there, man. Like,
Yeah.
just so you
No,
can
true, but
go.
people rely on YouTube like as their job. Like they make
Yeah,
money off
yeah,
that shit.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if you
yeah.
get banned, that's pretty fucked. Like you can't just start a whole new life, you know, like okay, I can't make videos anymore. Let me go into accounting. Like it doesn't work like that.
Right.
You can't change platform because,
I don't know.
like Freed said,
It's such a
it's
complex.
monopolized.
Right.
So do you guys think we should break up these monopolies or like what's the solution in your head?
Bro, that's not gonna happen.
But
The U.S.
let's say in an ideal world, what's the
No,
solution?
I don't know.
I would just say
It's.
more competition would be healthy, yeah? Oops.
I think
True.
it's. I think it's probably just as hard as a job to get more control over these social media companies as it is to stop oil companies from drilling and fracking and shit. You know, like it would be such a difficult task. And it is. They've done conferences in America, like the Congress, in Europe too. The European one was amazing with Zuckerberg. They were roasting him hard. It's funny to watch. You guys should check it out if you're interested.
I mean, they actually came prepared for the questions, unlike
Yeah, yeah,
the Americans. That was embarrassing.
The Americans are
yeah.
pretty embarrassing when it comes to a lot of things concerning their politics. Sadly, I wish it were better.
Blockchain social media. Yeah, blockchain social media will be very interesting.
Yeah, don't pretend to understand what blockchain is, my guy.
What?
Nobody does.
I mean, I did a whole minor in it, so I know.
No, I'm just joking, because I would like to
Yeah,
understand,
what's
sadly.
up now, boy? I could teach you, cocksucker. Let me take you back home with me.
Ooh, I got a question here.
Oh
What
my,
is the
yeah.
general opinion on Greta in Sweden? I
Bro,
was watching some
I,
Russian TV and they were hating hard on her.
bro, we can
I
make a
mean,
whole episode just on Greta, man.
that's a very good question. And the thing is, like in Sweden, I would say like 80%, 90% of people are on board. Like I don't see what there is to disagree with her about.
I
Like
think.
she's go
All
ahead.
right. No, no, no. Go ahead. Finish. Finish.
Like one of the things that she says is like don't listen to me what I'm saying. Listen to the scientists. Listen to the data. Listen to the facts. Like she's just a vessel like to get the information out there. And like her UN speech, that was like one of the most widely talked about, widely publicized UN speech in a very long time,
Yeah,
right?
nobody cares about them.
What?
The only weird thing is that it's being disputed, which I think is just
It's being disputed by the US.
I mean not just the US, dude. There's all kinds of people around the world who are saying things like they don't agree with it. They're like, "Oh, you know, you want me to like not fly around the world. You want me to not use plastic bags." But that just shows a misunderstanding of what the true issue is.
Yeah,
No, no, no. I don't agree there. I agree that she's great because she's spreading so much awareness on this issue, and it's great that she's interested and has this passion about environmental things. But also, like, just because I don't I personally hold like the corporations and the bigger men like more responsible for this issue, and I think it's kind of a part of their propaganda to make us think that our individual footprints together do much worse damage than the shit that they do.
No, but that's
She,
why
I don't
she's
think
talking to
she's
the
never
UN though.
said anything like that. Like,
Well, she said a few things that I don't agree with. Like she's like, yeah, men stop buying sports cars.
But like, when
That's
is it
retarded.
right? But when has she ever mentioned oil? Stop
No,
drilling
dude,
for oil. Stop
she's
fracking.
spoken to the UN to get them to do things about it, to
yeah,
get the countries to limit these companies.
Yeah, and the UN, always just does things when things go there.
I mean,
Like
sure, but it's still
it's
who
something.
else are you
It's
gonna talk to, my guy?
right.
Like,
No, I like I said, I think it's amazing and it's great, but at the same time, I do think it's a little sensationalist. Like the guy that created
but that's
the
not
like
bad.
plastic, the guy that created plastic cleaning thingy in the oceans. He's like 16 years old, and no one ever talked about this guy who's actually coming up with solutions to fix the environment. But because Greta Thunberg has this brand that's been created by her parents or whoever's managing her, right? We can agree on that. That she is being, like you said, Marcus, she is a vessel, right? She's being used to get a certain idea across, and that idea isn't that we should hold corporations more responsible for fucking the planet up. So that's why I don't agree with it fully.
I
I
mean, it kind of is her whole thing though. It's
Yeah, what I listen to Greta, all I hear is blame the people who are in charge of fucking the planet up. She doesn't talk to me. She doesn't talk to you. She talks to the fucking people who are actually doing the damage. I don't understand how people can think that it's like she's attacking individual people when she's not.
I don't think she's attacking individual people. I think she's just not putting enough of an emphasis on the right message.
I
Like by
mean,
taking a boat, a sail across the Atlantic Ocean. Like what is that showing? What is that
I mean, the
proving?
thing is, like at this point, she
Like
kind of
don't.
has to,
yeah,
But is
because
she saying
like
like
no, I'll
don't
tell
fly?
you, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you
Don't
why. If
fly?
she takes a plane to these things, everyone's gonna be like, oh, you don't even follow your own message. Why should I? You're taking a plane. It's kind of like she kind of has to at this point,
yeah, because
because then people
people
will
will take
attack
That
her on that.
any little inch that she'll give people will be used to attack her, and therefore it is kind of overblown. But if she would take a plane, it would be much worse than it is at the moment. Just people just making fun of her for taking a boat, you know.
I don't know, man. Like I don't
But
think
Fried,
it fixes.
I
We're
do agree with
still we're
you
still
that
fucked. We're still fucked. The planet, like we're gonna go extinct soon. There's no way to reverse this. The
Yeah, but you
more
can still
like,
try, my guy.
no, I don't think it's possible anymore.
Well,
It's
why
too
not
late,
try?
man.
At least you can say you
It's
fucking
too
tried.
late. It's too late, bro. It's just too late.
That's worse than that's just giving up, and giving up is never the solution.
I'm not giving up, man. I think we should like concentrate the fight on the right people, and I know that's just not gonna happen.
Well, that doesn't sound like
but
what you
see,
just
that's
said.
that's that's what Greta is trying to do though. She's trying to like it's a call to arms basically for people to get up and do things, to protest, to get the individual countries to try and do something about these companies that are polluting. Like I agree with you, Fried, in the sense that it's not up to our individual footprint. Like if you take two planes and you cut that down to zero, that's not gonna do shit. Like it's not
Mm.
about cutting down on our consumption. It's about changing the infrastructure that our whole planet relies on, right? Like let's look at like oil tankers and globalization. They pollute so much, right? So should the solution be to order less and have less globalization? No, the solution should be to develop technologies where tankers don't pollute as much as they do. And
I get you.
like you said, like
I
us
get you.
consumers, we have no like pull over that.
Yeah,
It's the
it's the
governments that
industry,
have that.
industry and government.
Right.
Yes.
I just don't like her, man. Like when she says, "Oh, you've destroyed my childhood and shit." There's so many kids like who don't have to eat, water to drink, who are
Dude,
living in
did
war and
you
destruction.
You
did you hear
realize
the
it's a
whole
fucking
quote,
speech,
Fareed?
man.
Did you
What?
hear the whole quote? It's like you've destroyed my dreams, blah blah, and then she says, I realize that there are people less fortunate than me, suffering way worse than I am, and I'm fighting for those people. That's
Okay.
the whole
Right.
quote.
Yeah. Did you watch
Right.
her speech? Because I did, and there's no
Yeah. I watched
way
it.
that you can not take her seriously and realize that she is stands like behind her message to like 110% with herself. It is her message in the end. I don't think you can deny that. She might be a brand, she might be being pushed by people, but it's still pushing her message, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay, I have two good comments here in the chat that I want to bring attention to. So one guy says the guy who invented the plastic cleaning, that kind of stuff, it serves a different purpose, right? One provides a solution through technology, and one brings environmental awareness to our youth. And I 100% agree with that. Like, you don't need to have one or the other. They can work in tandem to help fix this fucking situation we're in.
I don't think people posting shit on Instagram and talking about how bad shit is is gonna fix anything in
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
true, that's not
anytime
going to fix
soon.
anything, but
but it's
people
still
protesting in the
awareness.
streets,
That's
people calling their representatives, people putting pressure on those in power can have an effect. And we've seen this through so many different, like, civil rights movements, fucking protests that actually have an effect on the world and what happens.
Bro, if the right people wanted to fix things and wanted clean energy to take more of a role, like it would, you know.
oh my
It
god.
doesn't matter if millions are protesting on the street. If the right people want it, it will
You can't
happen.
say that.
And as long as people are living and have and water in the shops and they can send their kids to school and it's safe, no one is going to take up arms for climate change. It's just not an issue our brains can comprehend. You know, the world ending. It's too big for our monkey brains.
But dude, let me point you to one industry, the car industry. Like, how many companies have already pledged that they're gonna stop research on the internal combustion engine? Like, Mercedes have
Well,
said
it depends
after
depends on
2022 they're gonna stop all research on these things and they're gonna focus on electric, not hybrid,
who
electric.
who.
Mercedes,
Okay. That's
right?
cool, man. Yeah,
and
that's but
and why
it's
why do you think that comes about? Because people like, listen, I actually don't want to drive these polluting cars anymore. Like, people want alternatives that aren't as damaging.
Yeah.
bro.
And that comes through, like, putting pressure on these industries.
Yeah, it's the change of time and like stating stuff on social media that you like. Yeah, it's probably kind of obnoxious, but like the more people say that, yes, I'm vegan, yes, I like to take care of my ecological footprint, yes, I don't want to fly as much, it does show the people in the industry that shit, times are changing, we have to adapt. Because
Okay,
Nah.
I've got another question here. This is pretty good.
I like that
uh
one too.
what's what's your opinion on nuclear energy, and do you think shows like Chernobyl keep us in fear of nuclear energy usage?
That second thought is very interesting, but I don't believe it's supposed to keep us in fear. I believe it's supposed to show you the horror of complete mismanagement of something like nuclear power. Personally,
Yeah.
I believe nuclear power is the only way, or one of the only ways, that we can actually get this snap and change. Because nuclear power is a funny thing. It's technically green, but it's not because of all the waste that it creates. And then
What?
there's the
There's no
danger.
there's no waste, my guy. It's
The
safe as shit.
nuclear waste, bro.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but I mean, like, it doesn't pollute. You can keep it, like, contained. Sure,
That's why I'm saying it's green, but not quite. The really the biggest problem, and it's still an issue today, because it doesn't matter where you contain it, it's going to irradiate the complete environment around it, right? So that's a huge issue. But I
well,
feel
that's not
like
true. If you keep it under like 50 meters of water, it's only the water. Well, you have to dispose of the water. That's true.
exactly, it'll keep polluting, and it's an issue that still needs to be fixed, right? However, I believe that nuclear energy is the only viable way. Like, imagine all these reactors that are still existing are like from the 60s to 80s. Imagine we had a reactor that was built in 2025, right? It will be so much more efficient and safe, and would be able to help us immediately cut off, like, to shut down all these coal power plants and shut like completely reduce the amount of reliance on oil, because nuclear energy is incredibly efficient. And then there's also the idea of nuclear fusion, which, if that would ever work, then that would technically solve energy issues forever. But that's still a pipe dream, I guess.
But I think even more than shows like the actual accident, it
Wait, could you
just
repeat that? You cut out.
Yeah,
I think in addition to the Chernobyl accident and the movie too, and the
yeah.
show, I mean, like its association with war and being used in war makes it so much worse for people. The fact that it was used for killing people, I think it's hard for people to imagine that it can actually help humanity as well.
That's true. There's a lot of like misunderstanding that goes behind this kind of stuff. And also in I don't know about other countries, but I know in the States, like oil companies have lobbied for like regulations that don't allow for like nuclear power to be like instated properly, you know?
Yeah, you really have
Yeah.
to think about lobbyism and how much of an impact it has had on like historical events and whatever, and how much it might have had an influence on like there, nuclear energy exists today, but it could be that we could have a completely different world if we continue to pursue nuclear energy more like I guess more intensely.
Okay, I have another comment about nuclear energy. So if this becomes the power of the future, won't we have a problem of where to build them due to overpopulation?
I believe that. I mean, who knows? We aren't fucking nuclear scientists, right? Who knows how
Wait,
big a
you're
fucking
not a nuclear scientist?
No, I mean, like, who knows how big a fucking nuclear power plant will look like in the future, right? Maybe it's the size of a fucking box. I don't know.
But see, like overpopulation, like that's like there's a shit ton of people, but there's also a shit ton of space on the planet that's not being used at this moment. Like if you
Yeah,
come to the north of Sweden, bro, there's so much fucking space and so little people. Like you can put a lot of
But
stuff there.
but
isn't
but the caps are melting though, so we're gonna start moving upwards. We're gonna need that land, bro.
that's true. I mean, isn't it
Well,
like
it's good I live here already.
isn't there like this theory where if I think even Elon
You're
Musk
too
has
early
talked
for the
about it.
party, Marcus.
I'm just
Sahara
getting
Desert,
ready, dude.
guys. Like,
I'm
Yeah.
scoping out good places to live. Sorry, Zern, go ahead.
I'm gonna get some water. Sorry, uno moment.
I
No
told you
worries.
to get water before, bro. I'm just kidding.
It's
Oh
all right,
shit.
dude. Podcast, you
Well,
can get up and stuff.
what if I have to take a piss, bro?
It's piss
What's
in a
the
bottle,
rule?
like
Dude,
Ari Shafir.
I thought you were a gamer. Everyone has a piss bottle, don't they?
I'm not a gamer, bro.
All right, true.
I've
You
got I've
are.
got 5 underneath my bed actually, or my desk. Yeah.
Where's my shit bucket?
Okay, another comment from Skate BD. Development of nuclear energy will move forward. The half-life of nuclear waste will be reduced and thus become safer, e.g., moving from plutonium to thorium.
Sounds like someone knows this shit.
Yeah, dude, you know a lot about this nuclear stuff. But I agree with you. Like the more we look into it, the better it becomes for us. It's just like this whole propaganda around it. People hear
Yeah,
nuclear energy
stigma, keyword.
and no, not stigma,
Yeah,
propaganda.
that's
Propaganda is the better word.
stigma around the word itself, like nuclear energy, and everyone goes like, oh, "That's dangerous, though," and then yeah, propaganda does the rest, I guess. Ah, can you call that propaganda? I don't know.
Okay, maybe not. But I want to go back to this example of like the Chernobyl show. Like
That's an
I
interesting
agree
thought.
some
Yeah.
people looked at it like, oh, this proves that like nuclear energy is pretty bad. But I think what it proved more is that the fucking Soviet Union was just
Ridiculously
yeah,
incompetent sometimes.
horribly incompetent when it came to these kind
Actually,
of
not even
things.
sometimes. Most of the times, if you hear like stories
Oh,
about their space
wait,
site
sorry.
stuff,
Let me just interject here. Ula0720 says Sweden is powered 40 to 50% with nuclear power. So y'all better get on our level soon, man.
Yo, I just
uh,
want to say a little fuck you to Aaron, who I think is Pick Techies, who says he knows I used to piss in bottles before. Who didn't, bro?
Yeah,
Who
come on. Pick techies, bro. We've all done it.
who has not done that?
I don't
Come
think
on.
I've actually pissed in. Actually, no, I have.
Yes, you have. Shut
Yes,
up.
I have. I just remembered. Fuck you.
If
But
you
yeah,
got the
nuclear
schlong.
power, man. We need to move forward with that.
Yeah. See,
Nah, I'm not too
we're
sure, man. Like, I don't. Why
What do
don't
you
we just
mean?
chill? Why don't we just listen to Greta for a little, and then we can do nuclear
what if
power?
Greta says go nuclear power?
Nah, bro. It's
Wait,
gonna
how does
be
she
so much
speak again?
energy, bro. It's gonna
Um,
pollute
You
the
have
planet.
stolen my dreams and my childhood.
what if we move forward with nuclear power?
There we
Oh
go. That's
god,
good.
those are both pretty good, but with a pinch of autistic missing.
Oh my god.
That's because we're not autistic, so it's
How do I get a pinch of autism in my accent?
Just ask Salt Bay, bro.
I don't think Salt Bay is autistic.
No, I
Uh,
mean like the salt, bro.
with the pinch, you know. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
I
With the
understand that, but
pinch.
how? Wait, never mind. It's just
Okay, do y'all have any more questions? I love this give and take. This is great.
yes.
In
Okay, I've got
honor
a
of
question. Yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
Freak. Go ahead.
in honor of failed sober October, what's you guys' opinion on daily drug? Oh, daily drug or alcohol usage?
As you
I
can
don't
tell,
think
someone in this
that's good.
podcast isn't sober.
It's bad for the soul. It's bad for the body. Don't do it every day.
I agree.
Every day is very excessive.
It becomes a crutch if you do it every day.
What are
And
these fucking? Sorry, bro. What are these fucking Brexit questions, laddie?
That's
thoughts
Christopher,
on
bro.
Brexit. Listen,
Oh,
dude, we're
West.
talking about Europe. I
Yeah,
don't know.
man. We don't like the UK, mate. Do any of us look like we is related?
Bro,
Oh,
German
Marcus was born
sentiment.
there. Marcus was born. So
You know, when I went to get my passport, she asked me like, "Oh, do you still want to have like your birthplace written on it?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." Like I tell people I was born there, so I need to show them. And she started laughing.
Yeah, it's impressive or what?
well,
No, it's just people don't believe me.
That's funny. I mean, that's makes yeah, I get it. No, dude, German sentiment when it comes to Brexit is so hilarious, honestly.
Why? What do they think over there?
What do you mean over there?
Over there in Germany.
That's true.
I'm not
oh
in
Um,
Germany
god.
right now, so it's over there.
nobody takes Brexit seriously at this point. Like they just think it's a joke, big fat joke.
I mean, you can see why they think that.
Like there's like articles every day on satirical news outlets and even serious outlets that just make fun of every single thing that
Yo, you just cut out. Say that again.
there was just a bunch of satirical and non-satirical news outlets that make us fun of basically anything that the Brexit Party and co say on a daily basis. It's pretty funny. Will it ever go through is a very good question.
So let's get them interesting questions, listeners.
What
Don't
the
not
fuck?
political, please. Not political.
Yeah, political is a bit out of my scope.
That's true. I
It's
don't know if I could honestly answer that question because I still fail to grasp the full extent of what Brexit actually means. Because I'm not very much involved with anything economical, and Brexit is very much an economical question, I believe, more than anything. Though I do think it's very disappointing that people tend to forget what the European Union is originally meant to be, like representing, which is the unity of Europe to keep fucking Europe from going to fucking war again. You know, it's a shame that they decided to not take this referendum seriously back when it was what's it called, put into vote, I guess. And now you're stuck with this nasty ass situation. Yeah.
there's a really good CPG Grey video on Brexit. Like that's 4 minutes or some shit. That
You should link it in chat so our
uh,
viewers can get it.
you guys should just listen to that if you want a little. Because I'm too bored with Brexit, honestly. It's so boring.
It's true. It's very much a drag fest of like. I don't think even the people. I think only the people who are interested in Brexit are the people who are trying to do Brexit.
Oh, we got a question.
Thanks, Boris.
14. Nomadic 14 said the effect of regular distraction through creativity on your soul. Not a question. Interesting topic, though. Do you guys get that? The effect of regular distraction. Oh, like being creative and doing things. How is that for the soul?
Green is not a
Or
creative
being.
color.
Oh my god. Freed, what do you think? Because you're the creative one out of us. So I think you're more versed to answer that
That's
I
true.
think
or discuss it at least.
it's great to. Well, I don't like to think of creativity as a distraction. Like I don't feel like it's distracting to be creative. I think it's more calming, and it's great if you use it as a vessel to do good better in other things as well. Think outside the box. I think you learn skills being creative that you can translate and use in other fields as well. how do you define soul? You guys can answer that.
Dude, that's a.
Soul.
Can you define that? I mean, soul music is a type of music. That's the only definition of soul I can give.
That was a very bad definition.
Yeah, how would you define soul, my
I
friend?
would soul is like the emotions that you feel and like what goes on in your head, basically in your brain, like the intangible stuff that you can't feel but you know it's there. The I think therefore I am type stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't really believe in soul, kinda.
Well, not like in the sense that like oh once you die your soul goes somewhere. I think it's more just a way to explain like the things that you can't explain. Really, you know what I mean?
True, I
Yeah.
can agree with that. Like, you can use soul to define things about you that nothing else can. The things about you.
Do I feel soul?
He's
Mm,
asking if you have a soul, I assume.
do I have a soul? Well, like I don't really believe it in that sense. I think it's more like the feelings you experience through like the inputs from your or like external stimuli basically. That's the soul that I or the way I look at it. And I would say yes, I have a soul like most other people.
Do you think you can ignore the impulses from your soul or whatever?
Uh yeah? Or what do you mean by impulses?
Okay, because you can like define someone as a soulless person if they're completely not empathetic and shit like that, right?
Hmm.
So would
But
you?
what do you mean by like can you ignore the impulses?
Do you think it's possible, like, to? No, it's a dumb question, honestly.
Yeah, man. Fuck that shit, guys. Come on. We're disappointed in your questions.
All right,
You
so we've
guys
been
have been
streaming
bad
for an hour
listeners.
and 2 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
Let's
not
get
that
some
bad.
some last
Yeah.
questions and then we can wrap this up. Or if we have any topics. Do you have any topics there that's been on your mind?
No, this was essentially just first episode to introduce us to the world and say hello, we exist.
I'm pretty
This
pleased with
went
the
pretty
turnout.
well. I
I didn't
enjoy.
expect this.
Say, I'm very happy that we actually have all this like viewer interaction.
Oh my god. Yo, Kai says,
With
what are your thoughts on socialism and the connection of economic practice and specifically American politics? Bro, we're not gonna tackle politics. Fuck that.
Yeah,
Sorry, fam.
politics is gonna be its own thing, I would assume. We're gonna like try to do. Let's okay. The plan for the future, since this was just an introductory episode and getting to know everyone and stuff, um, we're gonna try to have, I guess, broad-ish topics set for each episode. So tackle a certain topic or news or something like that. Try to keep. We're obviously going to try to stay on up to date when it comes to a lot of stuff. We are well versed in the internet, so that shouldn't be an
There's a
issue.
question. When is the next podcast?
That's a good
Uh,
question.
sometime in the next week or two, I've got some school shit to attend to, so I want to try and focus on that first.
I mean, if we can do
Yeah.
this like 1 hour thing and bang one out,
But yo, we've
I'd
got a
say
Twitter
next week.
account. I'm gonna link that in chat. If you guys have any topics or specific questions you want us to tackle, just send us a message and we'll try address them in the next podcast. Also, give it a follow so you'll know when we're gonna stream.
Yes, and the Twitter will be updated with the YouTube version of this video later when it exists.
Yeah, guys, tune in. Be on the lookout for the Professional Amateurs show
Exactly.
on
It's
the
a
We'll.
web
internet.
show.
It's a web show. Now we'll probably aim for another episode next week. Um, this isn't too complicated to set up, so
Yeah,
should be good.
and I'll be ready with a soundtrack, a theme song very soon.
Yeah, we'll get some nice overlays, maybe some Twitch emotes. You never know.
Yes, get pumped, laddies. Get pumped.
If we
Yeah.
can pull 16 viewers every stream for the next month, we'll become affiliates. So then we can actually add a fucking emote. That would be pretty sick.
Nice.
But yeah, shout out to all the
Mm.
viewers. Thank you so much for coming through. This
Yeah,
is this is actually a lot of fun. I'm so glad we streamed this. Actually, getting like the chat's input on all of our questions and giving us questions. I think that was a smart idea for us.
Yes.
Thank you, all viewers. We love you guys. Can't wait
We
to
love you
see
all.
you guys again.
Yes.
enjoy your evening.
See you
whenever.
later.
Enjoy your day, enjoy your night, whatever it is. Oh, I have to stop the stream, right? All right. Peace,
Bye,
guys.
guys. Peace.
There we are.